Hello, my dear creative souls who are on a journey trying to give voice to your voice, to speak for your own inner child, to express whatever is in your heart, and in a journey that many times can seem to be lonely, can seem to be a little bit outside of what is normal, and therefore we tend to feel alone. And I am here to tell you that you're not alone at all, that there's many more like you, and many more that struggle with their desire to create art, because it is quite an experience. Why do we create, right? Well, before I go into deep, I just want to say that this is the 8th episode, number 8, of the Journey to Creativity podcast. This is a project that I began at the beginning of this year when I found a book that inspired me, and I've talked so much about that book. It almost seems like I'm selling the book, but I promise you I'm not. I just got really obsessed with it because the sense of freedom and the amount of experiences, fun experiences that I began to have, and a huge amount of realizations and insights that came through with the process of allowing myself to follow my dreams. And it's very interesting how that happens, because you think you are, and then wait, my dream was not actually to have this degree. My dream was to be an artist. My dream was to do art. And what is that? Why do we do art? Why do we do that? What is the main motivation for you? I'm not going to give you an answer here, but I want to pose the question, though. I want you to think about that. Because through this process, I realized that at first, my actual belief around art was that I thought it was vain. But this was a very unconscious thought. It was not conscious. I didn't realize that I was thinking deep inside my mind, deep inside the intricacies of these paradigms that are created in our brains when we think over and over and over and over and over again throughout years. We think the same ideas because we have adults surrounding us that are telling us things. They're trying to put their ideas about life in our brains because they're trying to help us. They have good intentions. But I came to that realization that deep inside, I thought, even though I wanted art in my life, there was a part of me that thought it was vanity. And this was an interesting discovery because I realized that this belief was based on these paradigms that were created during my youth, that there were other things that were more important than wanting to be an artist, or wanting to sing, wanting to paint, wanting to act, wanting to make movies, wanting to rap, wanting to play guitar. There were so many more things that were way more important, and that art was waiting for me down the line once I had a degree in a career that would give me a safe job, and once I had a job, I could buy a house, and then I could maybe have a family, because everyone does, right? So you have to. There was no possible chance of not wanting to have kids, but let's leave that for later, right? So after all of this accomplishments, then as a part-time activity, you can live art as a hobby. That's what was drilled in my head for years. And I realized that that's where it was coming from. That's where this idea of art being vanity was coming from. And it was not conscious. I just sort of realized that whoa, like that was my idea about art. That's how low I had actually art in my ideas in my brain. That's how minimal importance it actually had as a concept in my brain, in this paradigm that exists and it's created by external ideas, right? Our family, society, school, culture, the country. Now it's all over internet. I don't know, we have like a different way. Younger people, very young kids are getting influenced by other sorts of ideas. Who knows what that is? Everywhere in the world there's a different reality, right? But this pile of paradigms tends to very, very interesting ideas. And we think we're rebellious, we think we're free, we think no, I'm not going to do the same things my parents did. But these paradigms are buried so deep that you're not even aware of them anymore. So if you are experiencing a block, like, which is something that, again, is not something that we can consciously say or super awake, be like, oh yeah, I know I want to do art, but I'm being blocked, but I am experiencing a block. Like, I'm super clear about that, so I just need to unblock myself. It's not that of a conscious process because of these paradigms. So through the process of unlocking myself, unblocking my creativity and all of this, and paying attention to what my inner child was trying to say, I realized that I didn't really think art was vain. I actually felt that I loved art. Now, if this doesn't have an explanation, that's kind of beyond me, but I didn't know that. As a kid, I loved it, I just loved it. I was like, I saw a painting, I was like, wow. I listened to a song, I was like, wow. I would be amazed with every sunrise, every sunset that I got to see, waking up early, going to school, right? You get to see sunrises. Even if you don't want to get up early, you still do. And I would be fascinated whenever I saw someone playing the bass, playing the guitar, singing. I have tons of memories in my childhood about these things. Someone dancing. I used to be fascinated by ballet, the way that this seemed to be flying around. Same with ice skating. Oh my God, I thought that was so beautiful. And I have all these memories of watching the Olympics, watching things. Very little I went to see live events though, because I don't know, we were a modest family with a modest budget, and you usually don't have a budget to take kids to see the theater, right? That's something that, I don't know, it's kind of high class. You might have experienced it, I don't know. I didn't get to. So, but I realized that deep inside, there might have been in my brain somewhere this idea, someone said that art was secondary as a priority or a third priority in life, and therefore it was a vanity if you wanted to pursue that. And unlocking that thought to me, once it became conscious and I saw it, I was like, whoa, that's not true. What is true then? Next level. Well, what's true is that I love it. I feel something deep with art, right? It inspires me. I feel like a spiritual type of experience with art. I feel connected with art because I can connect to the creator of these pieces, and I can connect to the people that are with me enjoying the same piece, whichever art form it is. And the next level was realizing that my dream, my actual dream, I wasn't even aware of it. It got hidden so deep inside that I wasn't even aware of it, and I dug it out step by step, because that's how you find the truth. You just go step by step. You'll only be capable of seeing what you're capable of seeing. You'll only be able to bring a subconscious idea, a hidden idea, to the light, to the conscious mind. if you can. Otherwise, the way the conscious and subconscious minds play with between them is very interesting. Once you start doing this, you start remembering things. You may do a lot of remembering through journaling or through activities that the book presents, but you don't need to actually do the book. You can just simply begin thinking what kinds of things I loved to do when I was young and recover those memories. I know it's hard to remember them because they are buried. They're not, we tend to hide them, right? If it's easy for you to remember, then that's great. That's amazing. It means you're in contact with your inner child. If you're not, then it means that it might be a little harder to find them, but it's important to dig them out. I started realizing now at my 32 years old that I actually always dreamt of being a singer, of writing my own songs. And I was even shy of saying this. You can realize in the first episodes of this podcast, I am very shy about it because I started realizing that at the very beginning, and I was like, wow, I can't believe this. Like, I always thought it was painting. My thing was painting, but I just realized that painting was just an easier thing to put out there because in my family, there's people that paint. So it was just easier, but I wasn't acknowledging my true desire. So this brings me to what I really wanted to say in this podcast, and it is the fact that art heals. So this idea of art being a vanity, which might be your idea, it might be, you might think that because you have a job, because you're building this career, whatever, this is not a priority. Art is not a priority, and I don't have time, and I don't have, and blah, blah, blah. Then we come with the... If it's not a priority for you, the excuses will show up in many different forms and shapes, and you won't be able to stop making excuses until you realize that it's you who's making them up. But I've talked about that in other episodes. But art heals. It's healing. And this has been my latest experience with art. So as I've mentioned here, I started participating in Cypher Club, which is a beautiful group of amazing artists, humans that are just being very real and authentic. And we rap, we improvise. I'm not a rapper, but I'm trying to do it anyways. It's fun. But I most enjoy singing at the Cypher. And I've had lately a very interesting experiences when I haven't been feeling good. Like when you just don't feel good, when you just haven't been able to think it through, write it through, sleep on it, or figure out what it is that you're feeling. I don't know if you experience such intense emotional upheavals as I do, but I'm sure you do, because artists are people that are just dying to express something really intense that you don't know how to, right? So I just began to make this connection of ideas in my brain. And when I wasn't feeling very good, and I would go to the Cypher and be like, okay, I really need to do something about this. I'm going to just use it, somehow see if it works, if it helps me to just if this improvisation helps me to channel this intense bunch of things that I'm feeling that I can't make sense of, but if I just sing something might happen and I might feel relieved. And because when you're experiencing emotions which spring from either a experience that something just happened to you, or you're dealing with a past trauma, or you're just simply dealing with the ideas that are in your brain, because in the end we interpret everything. Like, people don't do things to us. People just are themselves, and they're actually doing things to themselves, just as you are just doing things to yourself. You tell yourself a story in your brain about what reality is. So if someone comes and he slaps you in the face, that might have been even funny, but you could have interpreted it in a very dramatic way because there was some memory someone did to you, something to you when you were 10 years old, and blah, blah, blah. You have all this story in your head, and the other person doesn't have any clue of that. And the reason why that person slapped you might have been to do a joke, like I'm trying to put that scenario, but it might have been actually to attack you. But even that is an attack to themselves, actually. And well, this is something that you can read in the Four Agreements book by Miguel Ruiz. He talks about this, about how we tend to make so many assumptions and take things so personally when we actually shouldn't. We're telling ourselves our own story. So you have the power to change the story that you're telling yourself. And it's the same thing with this creative process. If you used to think that art is a third, fifth, or 10th priority in life because that's the way it is, because if not, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make money, you're blah, 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 all the things that artists are... or you're going to become a drug addict, or you're going to become, a sex addict. Who knows? There's so many myths around what it is to be an artist, and none of them may apply to you at all. So because of the experiences of life and stuff, we sometimes become really intense. We're experiencing this emotion, this energy in motion. And what do you do with that emotion? It's your choice. You have two options. You can create a drama around you, whether in your head or whether with everyone in your life. Usually the closest person will receive all your lashing outs and your projections, and you're not going to solve anything that way. You're going to create issues with someone else, and that's where the energy and emotion is going to flow to. And you're not going to solve anything. You're just creating even more excuses to not do art, basically, while following that path. And following that path is something that we're used to. Like, that is the easiest route. To blame the other person is the easiest way to live. And if it's everyone's fault and not mine, that I don't have to take responsibility for it. So it's not that I am not able to create art. It's that I don't want to, and I'd rather blame on others. So that's pretty rough what I just said. But let me show you the other way and why art is healing. If instead of creating all this drama, you take that drama and you put it in art, the experience is completely different. We were just not used to doing this. Why aren't we taught this in school? That's something that I just can't understand. I mean, we have kids on tons of pills, medications, just so they can sit in a classroom, and listen to things that they're just not interested in. Teenagehood, that's the worst time to not know how to healthily deal with emotions. And it's so sad that no one teaches us that. No one tells us that. Unless you grew up in a family of artists, or or in a circle of artists. Because why of artists? Because artists do know how to deal with this. They just create something. Artists take this feeling and they put it down in paint. They put it down in a piece of poem. They put it down in a violin solo. You can create a story. You can create it's so, how vast art is, right? But the point is, using this energy in motion, this emotion, create amazing art. Amazing just because it's true. just because it's authentic. I'm not talking about technique here. I don't give a fuck about technique at this point. It's not true, but that's not the point here. The point is that there's no art that is right or wrong when it comes to art for healing. The only objective here is that you wholeheartedly, without caring about the result, like forgetting purposely about the result, and focusing exclusively in channeling this energy into something that you are creating so that you can heal. Because what happens in that moment is that you alchemize the energy and you turn it into something beautiful. And the fact that you just alchemize this, you acknowledge that you were feeling a pain and you alchemized it, you transformed it into something beautiful. Only that already makes it worth it. And if you didn't like the result, which it could be, okay, it could be that you weren't able to detach from the result, okay. You still were attached to how this was going to work out and you didn't like it. Well, you could have changed your way of thinking before, but you might still feel dissatisfied anyway and stuff, but I bet you will already not feel as intense as you felt before. And the other beautiful thing is that it's not only yourself who you're healing, but you're also allowing others to heal. Just think about how many times listening to a song has made you feel better, just because, even though it's like how we say in Chile, is like a chopping the onion type of song, because it makes you cry, right? That's the point of chopping the onion. It's a chopping the onion kind of song, but because your heart is broken, then you feel good with the chopping the onion song. It makes you feel good. It doesn't make you feel sadder. It makes you feel that someone understands. And this can be this type of experience. That's why when we go see, this happens to me a lot with spoken word artists. I listen to them live, right? And it's such a potent experience because, I don't know, it just gives me goosebumps listening to spoken word artists. It's like, oh my God. Suddenly a painting came to my mind and I'm thinking, well, when I watch a visual work of art, sometimes the connection to visual art to me is different than spoken word or than music. But I feel with painting, what I feel is this similar sense of awe that I get from nature. So I get this, it's like a sense of peace, a sense of, wow, this is so beautiful. You connect to that awe of how magnificent creation is. The creation that was made by God and the creation that we are capable of creating as created creatures. Isn't that amazing? Is that it seems to be that life itself is a constant process of creation. So when we stuck our emotions inside and we rather blame whoever's close nearby, we stop the process of creating life. And that's why we don't feel good. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, because this has been my experience lately. I've been using singing for healing, because I'm a very emotionally intense person and I don't want people around me to be constantly experiencing my ups and downs in a bad way. I want to help myself. I want to allow my inner child to express whatever it is she needs to express. I know my inner world is vast and intense, and it has so many collections of experiences and people, and I know that my internal internal processing it takes time. It's intense and it takes time. And I've realized that it's my internal process. It has nothing to do with anyone else. So this is my way of healing myself, and it's my way of keeping myself sane and keeping myself alive, because we can feel so much sometimes that and not know a way out, that we might experience anxiety, we might experience depression if we keep bottling up. If we don't bottle up and instead just go and sing a song, write a poem, paint something, just anything it is, in any single possible way that you might spontaneously feel like expressing. Oh my God, honestly, if you're not doing it, I don't know what you're waiting for. No, don't worry. I know that this might be a slow process. Like it might take time and all, but at this point, like if you've been following my story, I started in January. Today is July 10th. Like it's been half a year. It's only been half a year, and a lot has changed in terms of how I see art and how much it has changed my life lately. So that is it. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. And I really can't wait to hear your comments. I really can't wait to know if this is helpful, if this is inspiring, and if I have been able to move you to take any kind of action. I would love to know. I'd love to know about you and what your experience is, because we all experience this in a very different way. And we're all in different stages of the process, but we all are artists. The ones that haven't even began their first work of art, and the ones that have already made their masterpiece, which can be 50 years apart from each other, but we all are artists, and you belong here. You're a part of this, and you have a place to be listened to. And so please come share your comments. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's creative without the final E, creative astrology. It's like creative astrology. I do share many posts there on the current times according to the cosmos, but I also talk about creativity, and I have my paintings there, and I don't know what else the future has for me in store. But you can if you want to, you can also follow me there. You can also find my Facebook page, Creative Astrology. That's like normal creative, like separated creative astrology. And there you will find that every now and then I'm just like sharing things that I find, it's mostly about astrology. But as you know, like as you can see, I'm trying to combine both worlds. Like creativity and astrology are both very close to my heart, and they both give me different spiritual experiences that I find very fulfilling, and both of them I have found to be very helpful to people as well. So that's why I'm so dedicated to these two things, astrology and the expression of creative, the creative expression. Sorry, Mercury is retrograde right now if you are like into astrology, and so maybe that's why I am a little my speech is a little startled today, and I apologize about that. I do my best to like speak in a more clear way, but I guess English is not my mother language at the same time. But I'm making excuses anyway. It's been great to record this episode. This was something I really wanted to share. So I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for listening to the very end. And I send you a big hug. And thank you for being here. Give me a like, write me a comment. All of that helps. It really does. And I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a great, wonderful day.